Yeah, I was just thinking about Mel Robbins and Let Them,
Yes.
and maybe we
Yeah.
all just need to take that Mel Robbins Let Them concept into the holidays and
Right.
go,
Well,
it doesn't
it's
matter.
not
It
just
doesn't matter what
let
they
them,
say.
right? Because then we
It's
allow
let
everybody to
me.
treat us. Let me, right?
It's let
Let
me.
let me be aware of what's important to me, and let me work on these things before I go to the holidays where I know that this is going to be a problem, right? It's your
Right.
job to work on your boundaries and the things that you I just don't want to go there, right? And it
Yeah.
can be like, okay, you know what? I'm just not ready for that. Leave it at that, right? People are pushy, but that's on them. And that's when you get to remind yourself, you know what? Thanks for the question. Now I'm not there yet. I hope you have, like I'm going to go get a drink of water, right? Or I'm going
Right.
to let me go get a drink. And I don't mean to get drunk, I just mean for
Mm.
the purpose of let me remove myself from
Yeah.
that.
Which that's definitely a tool I use all the time. I got to go to the restroom. I'll be right back. And it
Yes.
gives me time just to go run the water, you know,
Yes.
just kind of let the cold water run
Yes.
over my hands to breathe deeply and then to go, I'm still me.
Right.
I'm just myself and it's all good and I'm out of here in an hour, you know.
Exactly. And the thing is, okay, so what do they care whether you're married? Are they going to come and pay for your wedding, or are they going to come and take care of your kids someday that they keep asking about? No. So what do we care, right? They're just another person who's nosy and doesn't know what else to ask. So it's okay to say, I'm not there yet.
Yeah. One of the most powerful things I've heard you talk about for the holidays, and I've never really heard anybody talk about it as directly as you did, especially to, late teens, 20 somethings, even early 30 somethings coming home with children that, you're expected to stay at your parents' house. And sometimes that's the most
Yes.
toxic thing that can happen to you. And to give yourself, you know, the pass to go, yeah, I want to come home for the holidays, but it's okay if I don't stay with them. Now, it might cause a big
Absolutely.
eruption,
But
but
that's okay. I think that's that initial eruption of that person being mad that you're not going to be staying there, or a lot of parents feel like, how could you do that to me? That's so um, I can't think of the word right now. But anyway, it's very aggressive in that sense of, why don't you want to be in my house? They get offended. They
mhm,
feel like, well, my house isn't good enough for you. But it's also saying, okay, I'm going to allow myself to have time to be able to get ready, to give the kids their space. And that's when you get to say, you know what, mom, it's best that the kids have their time to be able to run around the hotel room or run around wherever they are. So that when they come here, they feel more calm and they don't feel like they have to be on the whole time. Because that's the hardest part about bringing your kids to these. They have to be on. Everyone wants to come and give them a hug. Everyone wants them to be happy, and don't you know it's Christmas? You should be
yeah,
excited. And um but that runs out real quick, right?
yeah,
And
Jimmy's going to have
there's
a meltdown. It's guaranteed.
yes, right.
Yeah.
But we're all feeling that same way as Jimmy. Jimmy's just hasn't learned how to regulate that yet, but he
Mhm.
is the microcosm of everybody in that room feeling the same way of, I'm done, right?
Yeah.
And their way of being done is they lay down on the couch and watch a show, or they're just chilling out and not talking to anybody, the adults, right? Like, I'm out, I'm going to sleep, it's after Thanksgiving, and we're going to watch football and we're going to do whatever. That's their way of checking out or having a meltdown. But kids, they can't control that. They don't
Mhm.
know what's expected of them, or maybe they don't even care at that point. But it's our job to protect them by saying, we're not going to keep you in this uncomfortable
Mhm.
environment that's going to make us all stressed out too.
Right. No, and it's one of the things I hear talked about the most because people don't give themselves permission to stay somewhere else,
Yes.
and the amount of anxiety
Mm-hmm.
around the holidays, people going to home to stay in their parents' homes, and I just hope that those listening to this say it's not being cruel to your
Right.
family. It's actually creating spaces where everybody can
Absolutely.
breathe a little bit. You know that you have a blast with your mom and dad for about 3 hours, and then the kids need a
Yes.
nap, you need a break, get a cup of tea, a long bath, and then maybe you can go back for another 3 hours. But if you're not
Right.
compressed 24/7 for 3 or 4 days at a time, the likelihood of it being a nicer holiday is a lot higher. But we don't give
Absolutely.
ourselves permission to make that choice.
Right, because we're doing out of guilt and pressure or resentment. Or also, if I don't have the money to go do that, what am I going to do? Right.
Hmm.
So there's other people you could stay with if you have friends that live nearby or other family members, but don't stay with the one who is the most stressful, or shorten your trip. If I don't have the money to stay somewhere else for a longer period of time, then I say, okay, we're going to come in for a short period of time and then we're going to leave, right? Because this is the time that we have and this is about what I can handle.
Right.
And reminding ourselves that we don't have to put ourselves in discomfort just to make somebody else happy, because honestly they're just as uncomfortable as you are, they just don't want to admit it.
Right. And I think Thanksgiving, especially, we're supposed to be grateful. We're supposed to be thankful. Yes, we are.
Yes.
But like with my children, um, it's such a short holiday. You got 4 days, and that has to include travel usually, or maybe you get Wednesday night if you're working. But like,
Right.
I have a son in graduate school in New York, and we kind of came to the thing of it's just too intense to travel and only be home for 2 days. And then you've missed a lot of study and writing time that you needed for graduate
Right.
school. And so you're mad, and I just want to have time with you, and none of it works. And
Exactly.
so I said, if I know that you're with somebody you care about, one of his professors is having over a bunch of the kids who can't, you know, do the type
Right.
turn of Thanksgiving, I can be happier. I can be
Right.
happier. And so I'll come up and see you later. Now, there are parts of that that you kind of go, oh, that probably would never have happened if James were alive. We would have had the big family thing. But it's not there for us anymore. And
Right.
the happiness quotient, the opportunity for that is just a whole lot better if I'm considerate of, man, that's a compressed amount of time to travel a long way
Right.
just to just to be in another intense situation for 2 days.
Exactly.
So
Well, and
trying as an adult parent,
yes.
I mean, a
Yeah.
parent of adult children. That's what I'm trying. I think as much as children have to accommodate parents as we get older as children,
Right.
there's another lens through which we need to explore the holidays, and it's how do parents feel? Parents of adult children coming home to their lives. They're empty nesters. They're doing their thing like me. They
Mhm.
have their habits and their rituals and times they go to bed.
Right.
They have a lot more quiet probably. And then your home is upended by your adult children
Exactly.
coming home. Tell me what that looks like.
Well, and a lot of times people have now downsized their home. Either they've moved to a smaller place or they have turned their kid's bedroom into an office and there's nowhere for them to sleep. Things like all that kind of stuff, especially when you're empty nester and you're so excited about moving on to a different life. Go meet somewhere else for Thanksgiving, right? That first time, or finding a different way to celebrate the holidays, because it is so much pressure. Like if your kids are away at school and now they have a girlfriend, um, and now they have friends that they might want to spend time with. Like my kids live in northern Florida and I'm in South Florida. I mean, for school they do, and 7 hours on a bus to get to me, or me drive 7 hours and then bring them back, which, that's always fun. So those kind of things, I want to reduce as much as that anxiety as possible by saying, you know what, let's do something different. But the parent is the one who, we have this idea of just because you're a parent, you're an adult.
Hmm.
And I like how you on accident said the adult parents, because some of us are not adults. Let's be honest, right? And I think that
Right.
because we have chosen to believe that we are in control of these people. I mean, you're not even in control in at infancy. Let's be honest. So to think that I'm still in control when this person has another life outside of
Hmm.
even living in my home is a real eye opener to say that's not true. So
Hmm.
really being able to say to yourself, I have to be the one who is the holder together, like the person who's keeping this is the glue of the family. So if I'm harassing everybody else or they're harassing me when I come home or I feel uncomfortable, no one's going to want to be there. So all of us really being able to figure out, we really got to work on our own stuff. I don't care how old you are. You really have to work on the idea of, should I keep harassing my niece or my child about when they're going to get married? No, I probably shouldn't. Should I say I miss you, you never come see me? Well, they're right in front of your face. Please stop saying that. Right? That does not make anybody feel like, oh, well, I'm glad I trekked across the country to hear that, you know. Um so it's we really have to be, as parents, no matter how old you are, really aware of what's happening with the younger generation and how they're handling things, not being stuck in our own ways, because we're going to ruin our own holiday, and it's really going to be on us.
Yeah.
The more you're stuck in this idea, the worse everyone's going to be.
I do think it's an absolute art form, and I guess we need to either be in therapy, go back to school. I don't know what we should read. Learning to parent adult children. But one of
Yes.
the phrases for me that I just watch everybody curl up and turn away from me when I say, you need to do such and such. If
Hmm.
I say you need, I can guarantee that that will never get done. And it's
Yes.
very different from being with a 3-year-old when you use that psychology. An adult is like, I don't need to do anything. And if you tell me I need to, I probably am not going to do it that way.
Exactly. Right.
And
And
it's
that's why,
really
yeah.
backing off of any suggestions of how they ought to do things and listening a whole lot more.
Right. Take your ideas of how their life should be in your mind, right? Because again, it's about perception. I have had a dream that my child is going to be so and so, right?
Hmm.
Or I always hoped that my son would be clean shaven and have nice short hair and look clean cut, right? That's not true. But my son has really long hair. They both have beards, and if I take that as, you're doing that against me, and how dare you come in my house and do the opposite of what I want you to do, then I'm never going to have any visitors. I'm not going to have any kind of relationship with my children. And we are in a time period where people are saying, I am no longer going to tolerate that from my parents. People are not going home for holidays. People are not going to events because they don't want to tolerate that.
Hmm.
So it's really, no matter what your opinion of mental health at any age, is that we have to recognize that we have to do some work no matter how old we are. We are the parent.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that that child as an adult has to come and be part of my life. So I want to be with my parent if they're going to be nice and enjoy ourselves, right? Nobody wants to be judged when they're there. And you also don't want to be judged. So we all have to be clear, right?
Yeah.
Brene Brown says that clear is kind, right? So being
Oh, I love that.
able to be like, you know what? I really want you to understand, when everybody gets here, please don't ask me these questions in front of people, right? You and I can talk about them together, about why I'm not married or why this or why that, but don't ask me that in front of Aunt Sue,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Having those boundaries to say, I'm going to come home, but we have to kind of set some limits here.
Yeah.
And
And
if they are, yeah,
uh, I I think clear in our hearts, our souls ahead of time before we get there.
yes,
But I think also, I think for me,
hmm,
you're right, Gen Z, I think they do such a much better job of really speaking their minds about how they are feeling. It's
yes,
taken me a long time in life to, and sometimes I still don't do it, but to have my voice, sometimes the way I'm wired, I don't do it fast, in the moment. It's when I
yes,
take away that wound and I'm like, God, that really hurt. Why didn't I say such and such?
right,
But I've worked really hard on trying to listen to myself in situations and respond with my voice. Hopefully not in an unkind situation, but to
right,
really use my voice to protect myself,
right,
to create boundaries, whatever it is. Like the other night I was at dinner with a couple people and I was having this really meaningful, kind of heated but good heated, meaningful conversation with one woman, and I guess something that I was saying or doing was triggering the other woman. And she said, can we just leave now? And without realizing what I was doing, I just turned to her and said, no, this is a great conversation. Well, there was certainly a time in my life when I would have said, "Oh, sure, yeah, we can leave now," and shut down a conversation that was great.
Right.
And so the other woman ended up leaving. Whatever was going on wasn't comfortable for her or was triggering. But I also had been honest about what I wanted. I was able to
Right.
sit in conversation with another person, and it was a great conversation. So learning to have your voice when there's conflict is, for me, very hard. And
Yes.
I've come a long way, but I would encourage everyone to, just have self awareness and go, you don't have to do what the other person is suggesting, nor do you have to create conflict. But it's
Right.
important, to hold your boundaries
Right.
and have your voice.
Exactly. Well, and being clear and direct does not mean conflict, right? And I think that's
Right.
where we really, as our generation or older, we assume because I don't agree with you or because I tell you, please don't say that to me, that that's a beginning of a fight, and it doesn't have to be that way, right? And again, like you said about parents that say, well, I'm your mom. I have the right to tell you you're looking fat today, and that you should put a different dress on, right? But okay, so hey, why don't you say, I got something great for you, you want to try this on? That's a
Hmm.
very different way of expressing your concern. Or I have something else for you. If you don't have anything else for her to put on and she looks that way, you leave her alone, right? Because what are you going to serve? She's going to be miserable and think and feel terrible the rest of the evening, and now you've broken that connection even more.
Right.
And why are we here? We're here to connect with each other. That's the purpose.
I love that so much. And I love that you went there because really, why do we have family home for the holidays? Why do we
Right.
have these great big meals together? Just to be unkind to one another and
Right.
spew out our expectations or our opinions? No, it's
Because it's a
all.
requirement. We feel like it's a requirement. I know I've said this before, or I say it in therapy all the time about there's this invisible string, right? That happens, that we're tied to blood in some genetic kind of way, that we just feel like no matter what these people get away with, whether you're the child or the adult, doesn't matter, is that because I feel entitled to the fact that you are my family, that I can say whatever I want to you, and I don't have to, the connection doesn't matter because we're blood, so no matter what, the connection's always there. But that's not true. We can say, and this is a huge trend now of saying, you know what, if I don't have a connection with you, I don't care whether you're my family or not. I'm not going to come in and destroy my peace just because you're my father, right?
Hmm.
Just because you're my sister, whatever it is, just because you are of that person, of that relationship, doesn't mean that I have a connection with you. And if you want to build a connection with me, then absolutely we can work on that. And that's the piece that I think a lot of parents don't realize. Well, I'm your mom. I don't care. You're another person. And if you treat me poorly, I'm going to respond accordingly. Or I'm not going to come. And I
Yeah.
think that's what we all have to really understand, that it's about connection. And if we don't have connection, what's the purpose of being there?
Well, and I totally agree, and I would hope that as our viewers, listeners listen to this, you might want to think about reframing what you want for the holidays and
Yeah.
going, I want to write this story differently this time.
Yes.
And I
Right.
do want, what is the point of the holidays other than connecting to the people you love the most?
Yes.
When you
Right.
were talking about your boys having long hair and beards, I was like, I don't care what my boys look like. I just
Right.
want them around. I
Exactly.
just want their presence, and I want to get to hear what's going on in their lives. I might not agree with some of the things they're doing or their timelines or how they spend their money or who they're dating or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. I
Right.
just want to have time, experience
Exactly.
with them.
Yes.
So I think if we could reframe how we think of the holidays so that, oh my gosh, it's just a time to sit in the presence of these precious people who are our families or extended folks we bring in and call our families, and it is, you use the best word, it is about connection. Let's
Mhm.
connect. Let's connect as human beings and lift each other up, not tear each other
Mhm.
down.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. I always love being with you, Sheri, especially when we get into it like this and
I
say the
love it.
hard things. It's
Yes.
so good.
I'm never
Yeah.
afraid to say that. So I'm happy that you allow me to be on here and do this and say the hard things and say you don't have to go home, my friend. You don't have to. You learn to build that connection outside of holidays so that when you get there, you're going to want to be together.
Yeah. No, you're always allowed to say the hard thing, and clearly you learned to use your voice a lot sooner than I did.
Thank you.
Sheri, thank you so much for being here, and happy holidays.